Continuing tonight's military matters, Secretary Mattis has revealed some of the new rules of engagement for forces in Afghanistan.
This means U.S. forces are no longer bound by some requirements. Let's bring in our Channel 6 military analyst, retired Colonel Ben Danner. Thank you for being with us.
Always a pleasure.
Now, the rules have loosened up a little bit. What's changed?
Well, rules of engagement are essentially military orders that dictate how and under what circumstances U.S. forces can engage the enemy. So previously, and they're very seldom talked about, so it's unusual to have the Secretary of Defense reveal some things. One of the things he seems to have revealed is a proximity rule. So previously, U.S. forces had to essentially be in contact with an enemy force before they could engage. No longer. That seems to have loosened. And what this does is unleash America's superior air power against the enemy when they're in places like base camps or assembly areas or places like that where we're not in direct contact with them. But the other one is it pushes advisors down to the level of more units that are engaging the enemy. That is actually pulling triggers and firing at the enemy.
So why are we doing this now?
Well, that's a good question. So in terms of advisors, with NATO and American advisors in a unit, they tend to win more. So the thinking is more advisors, more winning. In terms of the proximity rule, what it essentially does is unleash America's superior air power against the enemy, which is a huge effect. And why now? Well, these are all sort of promises that the Commander-in-Chief, President Trump, had made about empowering the military.
Okay, so what enemy is this affecting right now, or is it worldwide?
Well, that's a good question. So we think we know these things because the Secretary of Defense testified in front of Congress and he revealed a couple of these things. In his testimony, he only talked about Afghanistan. And these things usually aren't talked about again at all. But it would be odd if the rules only applied to Afghanistan. We're not likely to see a statement from the military to clarify any of this, but one could probably assume that they're going to apply in a broader perspective.
All right, Colonel Danner, we appreciate your insights.
Thank you, Doug.